Hello everybody, welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in day number 71, we are going to talk about Torment, through an EDH lens, of course. Torment came out in February of 2002. I had a kid born that month. It was 143 cards, 44 rare, 44 uncommon, and 55 common. Now, Torment was known as the black set. Normally, how all five colors are kind of equal when they do a set. Torment was the first one that they skewed toward one color. There were 40 black cards in this 143 card set, and they lightened up on white and green to show the darkness. The novel they went with it was called Chainer's Torment. So let's get into it. Now, cleansing meditation is not something that you would think about running in a enchantment deck. However, here again, Torment it bled off of the themes introduced in Odyssey, and Threshold is one of them. You destroy all enchantments, then return all yours back to play. So that is really good for, enchantment mirror matches, I guess you would say. Major Tarot. Now, Major Tarot, important character in that story, but as far as how I'm going to build this guy, I'm not sure. I don't think I've built him. I honestly cannot remember, but it's probably going to be all hate cards. I hate to do that, but I don't know. Maybe bird soldiers. Morning Tide. Yeah. This is a beating. I love the fact that for a long time they tried to avoid card names when naming sets and vice versa, but then after a while they were just like, meh, never mind. As a matter of fact, in the Time Spiral block, they intentionally did set names that had previously been cards. Time Spiral Planar Chaos feature site. But anyway, removing all graveyards is pretty stout. And in our format, I run a lot of Bajuka Bogs and things like that to target one, but stuff that can nuke them all. Now, granted, this only nukes them all once, so you got to pick your moments. Transcendence. Now, Transcendence looks like it is hard to play. You don't lose the game for having 0 less life, and when you have 20 or more life, you lose the game. So obviously, and whenever you lose life, you gain 2 life for each life you lost. I have seen this ran in life payment decks. Of course, it's not going to come down to you're almost dead anyway, and then your life payment. It can prolong your game a little while. It's hard to make work, but it's a blast when you can make it work. Vengeful Dreams. Now, there's a cycle as an additional cost, a discard X cards cycle. I think all 5 colors got one, but this one to just remove X attacking creatures from the game. This is another card I've never seen cast. There are many times I would a lot rather have exiled your team rather than, hold on to my 3 or 4 cards I may or may not be able to play. I don't know, especially in decks where we want to discard. Ambassador Loquacious, however you would like to say it. Merfolk Legend. Now, the 3:mill 3, it's hard to make work. I mean, we're in a 99 card format, and you just about have to have some exile effects out there in order to make this kind of mill work. Breakthrough. Speaking of discard, the reason why I put this card in here is for those decks that actively want to discard cards. And here we have a 1 mana discard 4. Draw 4 cards, then choose X cards in your hand and discard the rest. Or actually, more than 4. It's a great discard card for yourself. Lawan, Cephalid Empress. Comes into play, return all blue creatures your opponents control to their owner's hands. Your opponents can't play blue creature spells. That's pretty neat. Now, blue is also the color that likes to change colors. So there are several cards where you can change colors, and I think there's a few where you can change all things to a certain color. So that's how I'll go with her. Now, Plagiarize. Oh man, Plagiarize is a beating. At 4 mana, it doesn't look like it's awesome. Until end of turn, target player would draw a card. Instead, that player skips and you draw. Yeah, it looks like 4 mana for one card, but I seen this. Thank God it wasn't me. We were in a game, and the player Wheel of Fortune, and the opposing blue player said, it didn't. Nobody at the table really wanted the wheel to happen. He didn't have a counterspell, so he said, you know what? I'll plagiarize you. So he had to discard his hand and drew no cards, and the blue player got to draw 14. So that's Plagiarize works for instances like that. Now, granted, that's few and far between, but even making it happen once is so worth it. Cabal Ritual. As I told you last set, the Cabal is what was kind of, in charge of Otaria there. And 2 for 3 doesn't sound amazing. 2 for 5 does. We run 2 for 3s all the time, like, what is that? Desperate Ritual and things like that. But this is in black. It's a big storm card, obviously. Chainer himself. Now, 5 mana, 3/3. All your nightmares get +1/+1. And you can put a creature card from a graveyard, so that's a bonus, anybody's graveyard, and it becomes a nightmare. Now, when he dies, he takes all the nightmares with him, because that's just how Chainer worked. Side note, Phage is a minion. Oh, this is not the minion one. Okay, I'm sorry. Nightmare. Shoot, I can't think. There was a couple of decent nightmares. There was also a Chainer's Edict. Now, this is a sorcery version of course, Diabolic Edict, and it's sorcery with good cause. It does have flashback, so you can play it later on. So it's a decent removal spell if they've got one creature. Now, Dawn of the Dead, I'll be honest with you, when I was researching this set and getting the pictures for it, that was the first time I've ever seen this card. I have never, ever seen Dawn of the Dead before. I've never seen it in play. I've never pulled it from a pack. Nothing. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to play. It gains haste. Exile it at end of turn. That seems really good. Now, all of the busted creatures have that clause. The Eldrazi Titans and things like that have that pretty much can't be in a graveyard clause. But, man, I'll take 1 life to get a free hasty animation every turn. Hypnox. Now, at 11 mana, 8/8 flyers. Isn't this why we play EDH? Really, these big splashy spells like this. It comes into play if you play it from your hand. Remove somebody's hand from the game. What? Now, it doesn't work for, if you reanimate it or cheat it into play, you have to actually pay the 11. But in our format, that's kind of not that big a deal. We have mana doublers and discounters and rocks and things like that. It's not like we're waiting until turn 11 to play the Hypnox. And hey, it's a nightmare. Icarid. Icarid hasn't really done much in EDH. I did want to include it, though. 3/1 haste, and you sack it. But you do get to bring it back. Now, I have used it spotty in decks where I want to keep sacrificing. I need a creature return to sacrifice, and Icarid kind of steps up and fills that role. Insidious Dreams is the black installment of the discard X cards. It's a tutor. Now, granted, it tutors the top of your library, but I would say, I mean, you're trading cards in hand for cards on top of your library, so they are costing you draws. But even then, most of the time you need what, one, two cards? So it's a different kind of tutor. It's instant speed. Now, way back in ABU art, we had Mind Twist, and Mind Twist is a beating. It typically the only time you would cast Mind Twist is when you were going to drop their whole hand. Mind Sludge is pretty much the same thing. It's a 5 mana mind. I mean, you're going to nuke their hand. Somebody's. Ooh. Mortal Kombat. Now, this has been reprinted. I think it was in 10th edition, maybe a couple more times. But I have seen people get a win. My oldest son, we were playing like a 5 or 6 person game, and he just untapped, and because all game long he would go creature, creature, and somebody would wrath the board. Creature, creature, wrath, and he was just like, and then he played this, and none of us, because he wasn't really a threat, he wasn't doing anything that impacted the game, and then he goes, untap, upkeep, I win. Well played, sir. Mutilate. Whew. Man, it's hard to live through a mutilate. -1/-1 for each swamp. I'm sure you can tell the black theme that runs through the set, and I'm telling you, for each swamp you control that's a pretty good board wipe. Sickening Dreams. Now, I use Sickening Dreams as a win con in one or two of my little combo decks where I draw just an obscene amount of cards and deal, each creature and each player the damage. Balthor the Stout. Now, for 3 mana, 2/2, all barbarians get +1/+1. Yeah. Just that tribe hasn't really been supported a whole lot. I mean, the barbarians that we get are kind of incidental. I like to think of them as a concentrated barbarian. Fiery Temper, if you can discard it, say Faithless Looting anyone, it's a bolt. That's really the only reason to play a Fiery Temper, is planning on paying that madness ability. And if you get the draw discard type effects, it's not bad. Although burn typically in our format is not. I mean, it's hard to get there with burn, so we typically use it as removal. And then even if it's removal, there's kind of better options. But it's a decent card. Grim Lavamancer. This is just one that gets underappreciated in our format. It did a lot of work in 60-card Magic, but I've been waiting for a couple years for this card to blow up in EDH because it's a wizard. It's a wizard, Harry. Radiate. Now, I've never seen anybody besides me cast this spell. This is, I love it when somebody says, Sword to Plowshare that creature. And I'm like, actually, I think you mean Sword to Plowshare every creature. Yeah. It's a beautiful card. It kind of, in red, it kind of fulfills that counterspellish type role. If somebody goes to murder your guy, you'd be like, well, actually, let's do them all. Oh, heaven forbid somebody sinkhole me, because I'll do it. Basking Rootwall is another great Madness card, because Madness of 0, that's living the dream. Yeah, you can only pump it up once. This actually is kind of a lot of people call this ability the Rootwall ability. It gets plus, and you can only do it once a turn. It's people kind of call it the Rootwater ability. But Madness of 0, it's a real thing. Far Wanderings. Now, there are a lot of land search cards, some of them definitively better than others, But this one, in my opinion, is way up there. And, it can be argued that by the time you have Threshold, you don't need 3 lands. But let's face it, you always need 3 more lands. So, 3 mana for 3 lands. I don't think I've ever cast this for a single, because typically in decks that want it bad. Nostalgic Dreams is the green discard X cards to regrow to your hand. So this is, in my opinion, one of the better ones. The black one's really good, but it puts them to the top of your deck. The green one just puts it straight in your hand. Parallel Evolution. Now, we all know about this one, but this is the set that gave it to us from just the Token Mania right here. I almost said Token Madness, but I don't want to confuse it with the actual Madness mechanics. So, yeah. But it's really good for your, and the fact that it has flashback. Yeah, it's a 7 mana flashback, but nobody really cares. But because typically in your token decks, mana's not a problem because you're probably running some form of green. Well, obviously, if you're running this card, you're running green. But then we get to our lands. Now, Cabal Coffers may in fact be one of the, in my opinion, the best lands to ever see print. The last time that we had seen anything like this was the trio of the Academy, the Sanctum, and the Cradle from the Urza block. And I'm telling you, the Cabal Coffers is just amazing. The big black mana package, this is part of it. This is the cornerstone of it. And a lot of people will say that, if you're running mono black, you need a Cabal Coffers. And I can't disagree with that. But I would need 80 of them or something. Now, here's a cycle. And I only did one of these because the cycle was black and other color. And there are very few 4-card cycles in the game of Magic, because typically they'll do 5s or 10s or things like that. But this is there are only 4 possibilities here: black, white, black, blue, black, red, black, green. Because you can't really have a black dual land. But they all required a swamp. They tap for colorless mana, and if you had a swamp, they become a dual. I use them in those 2-color decks, because in a 2-color deck you can reliably have a swamp. Once you start getting up in 3 and 4 colors, barring the existence of your Urborg or maybe your black. I have a 3-color black deck. It's every card in the deck is black and something else. So I have more swamps than I do the others. So, maybe those, maybe not. And that is what we've got for Torment. It is a small set. It was 143 cards. And it did give us quite a bit. But I think that's going to do it for today. I appreciate y'all watching. Be sure and join me back tomorrow for day number 72. And I will see y'all tomorrow.